Good morning, everyone. The Great Resignation, as you've heard it called, continues. A record number of people are leaving their jobs as companies struggle to hire workers. Michael George reports.
I quit my job in February of 2021.
Last year, Gabby Iannello decided a corporate job in real estate wasn't for her, and she wanted to try something new.
You know, with the world changing, it put a lot of perspective of like, life is short, so I might as well try now while I don't have kids, I don't have a mortgage.
The experience of resigning led to her own company called Corporate Quitter, where she offers podcasts and consulting, and more people are joining her. The Labor Department says 4.5 million Americans quit their jobs in November, a new record. Many of those resignations are coming in the restaurant industry, trucking, and healthcare.
People don't want to always settle for the same thing that they might have settled for in employment in the past. Now we know that many jobs can be done remotely. Now we know that there can be a higher degree of flexibility.
Bankrate economist Mark Hamrick says people are quitting in the middle of a worker shortage. There are 10.6 million job openings in the U.S., according to the Labor Department.
The challenge for 2022 is going to be matching the supply and demand for workers.
Any advice for people who are really close to doing what you did? They're thinking about it.
Experiment before you actually take the leap. You're never going to know what you like or if you're even cut out for it until you actually try.
Iannello says her leap is leading to success in business and in life. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Well, you can say so long to this, a phone that was the go-to for business people everywhere. This is a BlackBerry. Some of you are probably familiar with it. It's pulling the plug on service for its smartphones. The BlackBerry models were carried by executives, politicians, and legions of fans in the early 2000s. The phones were the first with a tiny physical keyboard to pioneer push email and an instant messaging service. BlackBerry lost favor with users with the advent of Apple's touchscreen iPhones and rival Android devices, that is. In recent years, the company pivoted to making a cybersecurity software and embedded operating systems for cars. Raise your hand if you had a BlackBerry. All right, now you may also want to say goodbye to some of those ingredients that have been hiding in your kitchen cabinets. Naomi Ruckham reports on that.
Most of us shake spices on our food and add them to our recipes without much thought. But Consumer Reports found there could be problems with some of them.
Of all the spices that we investigated, 1/3 of them had concerning levels of heavy metals, lead, cadmium, or arsenic.
Chief Scientific Officer James Dickerson says Consumer Reports tested 126 herbs and spices from 38 different companies. In every brand of oregano and thyme, concerning levels of heavy metals were detected. The metals were also found in almost all brands of ginger and basil tested, and in around half of the paprika and turmeric brands. Studies have shown that frequent exposure to lead, cadmium, and arsenic can be damaging over time.
For children, during their early stages of development, these heavy metals can adversely impact their neurological development as well as the respiratory development.
Spices are often grown overseas, where contaminated water can lead to heavy metals in the soil. The American Spice Trade Association says an analysis showed spices make up less than 0.1% of dietary lead exposure in children ages 1 to 6, and the risk is low in adults.
What should people do with this information?
Don't panic.
Dickerson says the good news is every brand tested of curry and garlic powder, black pepper, coriander, sesame seed, and saffron did not have concerning levels of metals.
Think about what herbs and spices that you and your family use and diversify the amount that you use. So don't overload on a particular spice.
He says choosing products with low levels can make sure you and your family stay safe. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, Yonkers, New York.
In the Consumer Reports tests, organic products did not perform any better than non-organic spices. All right, coffee waste is being turned into all sorts of things these days, from biofuel to recycled cups. But scientists overseas are brewing something new. Ian Lee reports from London.
Many of us use that jolt of Java to get moving in the morning. Now a company in Finland is turning that caffeine kick into actual kicks.
Sneakers made from coffee. Yeah, it's crazy. We know.
Wren's used a Kickstarter fund to brew up their waterproof sneakers using old coffee grounds.
We actually took it and mixed it with recycled plastic pellets made from used water bottles.
It takes just over a cup of used coffee beans to make a pair of shoes. That translates to 21 cups of Joe.
The upper part is made from majority coffee waste.
Globally, we produce more than 23 million tons of coffee waste every year. That's a lot of shoes.
We actually realized that only 5% of the coffee waste in the world actually got recycled.
And when it breaks down, it produces methane, a greenhouse gas experts say is about 30 times more harmful than CO2. Makers say wearing that waste is a fashionable way to help save the planet.
We want to be a brand where it's like, yeah, we make sustainable products, but they are cool. They have like really cool functions. People can actually use them.
A sustainable style that could also help cool the world. Ian Lee, CBS News.
The Finnish footwear company says it plans to use coffee grounds to create more wearable waste, including athletic shoes. Well, Americans report drinking more during the pandemic, and now more people are trying to cut back on their alcohol use. Changing behavior isn't easy, but new apps are trying to help with a focus on mindful drinking. Bradley Blackburn has more on that.
Like so many Americans, Kathy from Utah found she was drinking more during the pandemic. So earlier this year, the wife and mother of two decided to make a change.
I would notice it and not feel good the next day. And just, I take care of so many other parts of my life and my body that I'm like, why am I not doing this too?
In January, she started using an app from the startup Sunnyside, logging and reflecting on how she uses alcohol.
I still want to be able to enjoy my limit of wine, and I'm kind of learning what that is.
Women have seen the highest spikes in pandemic drinking, reporting a 41% increase in heavy drinking episodes.
We're seeing a lot of stress drinking.
And Sunnyside CEO Nick Allen says women make up 70% of their users.
Mothers, especially around the challenges of dealing with kids and work and household.
It's one of several alcohol reduction apps aimed at women's wellness. In an Instagram ad, this app promises better skin by drinking less. The goal is not necessarily sobriety, but mindful drinking, something doctors say can be beneficial.
You're putting in time and energy every time you open the application, and you log the data from the day.
Dr. Colin Reef says cutting back can have real health benefits, improving sleep and heart health, and apps can be a good first step.
And the important thing is, if it's not working, be honest with yourself and, enter a higher level of care.
Kathy, do you feel better?
Yes, I do.
Kathy says it's working for her.
You feel better just from the moment that you know you're going to take control of your life.
She says she's living fully while drinking less. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
A little later, two women hand each other the keys to a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. That story is ahead on Mid-Morning. Welcome back. The differences between our fellow Americans seem to be getting worse and getting more personal. So how do you bring people together when they disagree about everything? CBS News medical correspondent Dr. John LaPook went looking for an answer in his report on unifying America.
As our country struggles for ways to bring people together, the word empathy seems to be everywhere.
It's trying to see things from inside their world.
UC Berkeley professor Dr. Jody Halpern has been studying empathy for 3 decades.
You know you're having empathy when you find yourself listening in a way that makes you feel them as a human being.
Patients who say their doctors are empathetic are more likely to follow their advice. That's why medical schools are teaching empathy as a core skill. At NYU Langone Health, where I'm a professor of medicine, our Empathy Project produces short films to teach clinicians to be more competent by practicing empathy.
How do you pronounce the...
It's Wollaghan.
Our latest focuses on how difficult it can be for a black woman to be seen and heard.
If you really want to empathize, you have to try and imagine how the world sees her and how she assumes the world sees her.
The number one thing about empathy is don't project your experience onto other people.
During reconciliation efforts after international conflicts, empathy has helped people recognize their shared humanity. So how might empathy be used as a tool for reconciliation right here in the United States?
Nobody feels as good about living in this country with the fragmentation and conflict. Empathic curiosity begins with, you don't have to see it my way. What do you need to rebuild?
And after asking those questions, listening with empathy. Dr. John LaPook, CBS News, New York.
It is the plot for a movie acted out in real life. Two women use social media to make a connection and the trip of a lifetime. Rachel Holt has their story.
Packing up suitcases, passport ready to go.
I leave in less than 48 hours and I'm so excited.
On Wednesday, Grace Gagnon is embarking on a 2-week trip to... It all started with a simple question on TikTok inspired by the movie The Holiday, asking if anyone in England wanted to switch places.
I had watched The Holiday with my mom on Thanksgiving, so it was fresh in my mind.
The post went viral, getting millions of views and lots of interest.
I was getting flooded with responses. It got to be a little bit overwhelming at one point. Yeah.
One of those responses came from Flo Patterson, and ultimately the two women decided to swap apartments, with the company Home Exchange helping facilitate the short-term trade.
I DM'd her straight away. It was sort of a whim, I think, maybe for both of us, but I just thought, why not? I think we've been stuck inside for so long that why not just grab life and just do it.
The two may live on opposite sides of the pond, one in Boston and one in Bath, but they share a common love for adventure.
Just a different type of city, I think, will be amazing. So sort of high rise and things like that. It's just fascinating. And for Grace, I think it'll be great to sort of see really, really amazing history of Bath.
I get to meet her family and some of her friends, and I get to stay in her lovely flat in Bath, and I get to experience what life is like for Flo, and I think that's the coolest part.
Grace is putting together a list of fun things to do in Boston and in turn taking advice for her trip to England. And as you can imagine, she's receiving lots of input from people on social media.
It's insane. It's really crazy. The trip hasn't even started yet, and it's already been a wild ride that I never expected.
Rachel Holt, WBZ News.
All right, when we come back, another trip around the world with the Amazing Race. Mid-morning, we'll be right back. Adventure fans, it's finally back. This week, the Amazing Race started its historic 33rd trip around the world when 11 new teams take off from their homes and travel to their first destination, London. The competition had begun in February 2020, but after 3 legs was forced to halt due to the COVID-19 pandemic. After 18 months and the longest pit stop in the show's history, the Amazing Race resumed and concluded this past fall. We have your behind-the-scenes preview. Check it out.
Look, we got a message. Oh, yes, we got a message. Oh, it's from Phil.
You're about to embark on a race around the world.
Woo!
13 cities, 7 countries, and more than 22,000 miles.
We're starting the Amazing Race in a unique way. This time we're having everybody start from their homes. They've never seen each other before. The first time that they get to know each other is during the travel and when they all converge in London. The way that the race works is having great people doing amazing things in amazing places.
We chose the option of doing something and we took a leap of faith.
You may remember that there were some terrorists on a train in France. Anthony and Spencer attacked the terrorists. It was a really brave move.
We already feel like we can overcome a lot, but this would just be adding another experience to our lives.
Akbar and Cherie, they have a real passion for teaching young people and looking after young people, and that work that they do has been acknowledged.
People should tune in to season 33 because it's going to be epic. I hear some things here that they did, it's going to be like never done before.
The challenges are Amazing Race challenges. They're the things that you've come to expect on Amazing Race. It's things that are indigenous to where we go.
There's a dance challenge. We're going to kill it. We're going to knock it out.
Oh, that's what I'm looking forward to, a dance challenge.
I definitely want a bungee jump. I want to bungee jump or jump off a bridge.
There is no secret sauce, if you like, to how teams should be.
I think early on we're going to try not to call a ton of attention onto ourselves. These guys aren't a threat, and I'd like them to think that as long as possible.
That's just for style.
You got to stay stylish on the run.
We're one team out of 11 other teams to compete for $1 million. So for us to win is going to be crazy. Yeah. Like, I'm going to go crazy.
It doesn't matter what happens. You got to keep running your race. You got to keep believing in yourself, doing something that so few people have had the opportunity to do, the Amazing Race. That's winning to me.
Expect to get what you love about the Amazing Race.
The world is waiting for you. Good luck.
Good luck.
Travel safe.
Travel safe.
Go.
The Amazing Race airs Wednesday nights here on WCBI. All right, from dancer to director, a look at the career of the amazing Debbie Allen. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Legendary actress, dancer, and choreographer Debbie Allen has spent decades as a champion of the arts around the world. She has collected 3 Emmy Awards and 18 nominations. Michelle Miller spoke to Allen about her groundbreaking career, which almost never happened.
You want to become a dancer? You're going to have to work.
Debbie Allen has spent the last half-century dancing, acting,
and then relax, relate, release,
and directing her way through the full spectrum of fine arts.
I think it's a combination of courage and curiosity. I'm not afraid to not know something, and I'm always interested in solving and figuring something out.
A trait she says she inherited from her mother, Pulitzer Prize-nominated poet Vivian Ayers.
I'm very proud of their inspiration.
She has been, for me, Felicia, my brother Tex, my brother Huey, our greatest fan and our biggest critic, and a guide for us to stay on a path.
A path that took them from the segregated South to Mexico when she was 12 years old.
She took you out of Houston, Texas, and moved you to another country.
Mama raised us believing we were children of the universe. Growing up as I was, with so many boundaries and limitations, it was dance that kept me believing everything my mother told me.
But there was a turning point in your life at 16.
Yeah. There was a turning point when it was time to go to college. I was auditioning for the North Carolina School of the Arts, and I was the hope of my whole community until the head teacher gave me the verdict that I was not going to be accepted, that I was not the right body type for dance. It was the most painful, it was hard. Because everybody thought I was joking.
They thought you were joking.
They thought I was joking when I called to say they weren't accepting me. And that was so hard. It was as if I had failed. And it's what my mom said to me when I got off the plane. Mommy told me I had failed, which was really hard.
Your mother said you failed?
She said that to me. But what I realized years later, that she was loving me, that she was making me responsible. I had to get back on track somehow.
That track led her to Howard University.
Had you given up on dance at that point?
I had done that my freshman year until I went to a party and I was tearing that party up, girl. They called me Dancing Snack. That was my nickname.
Dancing Snack?
That was my nickname. And Mike Malone was at the party. And he said, wait, you can really dance. He said, no. I want to show you something. He showed me his picture in Dance Magazine. I had never seen a black man in Dance Magazine. And it just made me woke again about who I am and what I should be doing. He said, I want you to come and join my company.
She made out for the Big Apple to join her big sister, Felicia Allen Rashad, also trying to make it in show business.
We were in the struggle together. Sometimes we only had one can of tuna fish between us and our 2 cats.
That's not much tuna fish.
But it was okay, we made it.
Then came Broadway, and in 1980, a Tony nod for her performance as Anita in the revival of West Side Story. But it was a role for TV where Debbie Allen found
when they decided to do the series, they called and asked if I would be the teacher. So I said, I'm fine with that if I can do the choreography. And they said, okay, we don't care about that. I'm like, child, let's go. And that was everything.
But when she stepped behind the camera to direct a Cosby Show spinoff, her world was, well, different.
I know my parents loved me.
I got the call from Bill Cosby to go in. He said, he called me Miss Trash. Miss Trash, go in there and clean house. I said, I'm ready.
Why did it need to be clean?
It needed to be clean because it didn't have any cultural identity. They didn't have someone that understood a historically black college.
Smells delicious.
We had a place at Howard called the Punch Out.
It's still there?
Yes, the Punch Out. There was no waitresses waiting on you, but there was hot sauce on every table.
Every table.
So if that tells you anything, I basically brought the hot sauce and put it on the table.
She continued to bring that heat to Hollywood, producing her first motion picture for director Steven Spielberg and simultaneously acting in and directing hit TV shows like Grey's Anatomy. But she's never too big to give back.
Hop, 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 hop.
In 2001, Allen founded the Debbie Allen Dance Academy.
You're teaching the itty bitties.
I love it because I feel that I have something to give them. They look up to me. When they look at all the things that I do, they know they can do anything I do and more.
I can't let you go without talking about the Kennedy Center.
Okay.
And this honor.
It's really something because I've worked with the Kennedy Center for like 20 years. I'm still in the making, and that my work is significant enough for this honor to be part of that tribe. That Kennedy Center Honor Tribe is a fierce group. It's a fierce group.
Michelle Miller, CBS News.
And we'll be right back to wrap things up. All right, be sure you stay connected with us. We'd love to hear from you. We will see you back here next time. Have a great day.